Right, it's bang on 1:30, so we'll get started. This is a massive topic, so we want to get straight into it. I will do just a little bit of housekeeping first. First off, thanks for joining us, taking your afternoon or your lunch break with us to talk about Copilot. It's definitely a hot topic and a bit of a buzzword with Microsoft at the moment. So we're looking forward to providing you some content in that space. But yeah, like I say, bit of housekeeping. We've got Q&A. So if you want to raise any questions throughout the presentation, there's a Q&A button at the top. So just ping those through. I'll be managing the Q&A while Anna-Marika's presenting the content. And secondly, we are recording this. Feel free to have your cameras on and things like that, but just be aware that we are recording it and we will share the recording within a few days. I might do a little bit of editing, trim things down a little bit, but other than that, we'll share that recording to everybody. So without waiting too much longer, let's jump in and I'll introduce you and hand you over to Anna-Marika.
Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for the intro, Ian. As Ian said, this is a hot topic at the moment. It's one I've been looking forward to present. There's a lot of information in this space, and it was a challenge to keep everything into our 30-minute slots. So lots to cover. There is more outside of what we're covering, so if anyone wants to know more, by all means, get in touch with us. The purpose of today is to give you a bit of a feel for what Copilot is and what it can do, as well as to talk you through what you need to do to get ready for Copilot. Copilot is already existing in some of your apps already as well, so just being aware of what it's doing in those spaces too. So let's kick into things and get started. So first question that we'll start with is, what is Copilot? So Copilot is Microsoft's brand that they use for anything that's using the generative AI inside of the Microsoft experiences. Now, there are literally hundreds of Copilots available to us. I think at last count, we're up to about 150 Copilots, which can make it a bit confusing in terms of working out what Copilot you need and what you're using in which space. Some of those Copilots are embedded into your existing apps, and others are standalone offerings that connect all of your apps together. Some are free and some come with a subscription. So today I'm going to give you an overview of some of the free options, as well as going into one of the subscription offers, just so that you get a feel for what's out there and how you can be using it. Now, it's a recent launch, the Copilot. It's probably been out there for about 4 or 5 months. They've had test groups out there using it before it launched. Now, Microsoft have done some research to see what impact using Copilot for Microsoft 365 has had on its users. Now, the Copilot for Microsoft 365 is the paid subscription, which gives us the ability to have Copilot across all of our apps, and I'll go into the details of what that is later. The users that have been using it have said that they are 70% more productive. 67% have said that it saved them time, and that they've been able to use that time on more important work. Those that are using it efficiently are getting up to 10 hours of gained time in their month, which is quite substantial. And again, they're using that on more productive items. So it's taking away their mundane work and allowing them to work more productively. 77% of those that are using Copilot do not want to have it turned off. So once they're using it, they're finding it beneficial. And a really interesting one that we tagged in at the end there was that 30% after having used Copilot have said that they would use that to influence their employer of choice. So it would have impact as to who they would go and work with. So that was a surprising one that came out as well. A little tag down the bottom there is that Copilot is helping you to get to your ideas fast and to do some of that mundane work. It's not there to replace us humans. We're still there doing the work. It's just allowing us to supercharge the work that we're doing. And that was coming from one of the clients that has been testing it for Microsoft. A couple other stats here. I'll just whiz through these ones quickly so we can get into the meaty stuff. On the productivity and speed side, I won't read out the numbers. You can see the numbers, but staff are saying that it helps them get to their first draft faster. It saves them time finding what they need and finding their files. Helps them with their mundane work, makes them more productive, allows them to spend less time processing email. Now, we all are in that space where we have to do a lot of work in emails, and we'll have a look at how it can help you with your emails later down the track. Plus, there's a few stats in there around the quality and on the focus time, and the focus time is 67% is saying that allows them to focus on the more important work. Right, now I said to you that there is a free version and a paid version. We'll start by having a look at the free options. And when I say free version, it's more that there are different things we can do in the free space. So let's look at what those are. The first is that there are copilots in some of the applications that you are currently using. And you're probably not even realizing that they are copilots as such. For those of you that use Excel, there's analyze data inside of Excel. So when we highlight a piece of data in our tables, we can ask Excel to analyze that, and it can produce things like a mini pivot table based on the data that you have in there. So that's standard already in your Excel. You're not paying anything extra for that. So if you're not using that feature, get in there and give it a go. PowerPoint, similar thing. We've got Designer inside of PowerPoint. So as you're creating your slides and putting the elements onto your slides, it has a designer that takes those elements and lays it out in a few different ways, giving you suggestions on how you could put your slide together. Again, free offering. It's part of your PowerPoint subscription. Teams Premium, we covered that in an earlier webinar. Yes, Teams Premium is a paid service, but the intelligent recap that sits inside there is run with Copilot, and that comes with your Teams Premium subscription. So you can get that benefit inside of Teams without having to go to the full paid version of Copilot that we'll be looking at a little later. Power BI has a ask a question feature in it, and that too is based around the AI, and there's lots of other areas that you'll see AI creeping into your Microsoft apps. Next, we'll have a look at Copilot for Bing. Now, I'm sure most of you are used to using Google for your search engine. For those of you that have used Bing or have accidentally ended up in Bing, you may have noticed that Copilot is now sitting inside of Bing. If you're not using Bing, you may want to go in there and have a look at it. With your Bing search engine, you now get Copilot for free added in there. It is a web-based Copilot, and it works much like your ChatGPT. So you can access those functionalities inside the Bing side of things, and that's available on the desktop and the mobile. This is just a quick slide from Copilot with Bing. You'll notice everything is Copilot with or for. So this one is Copilot with Bing. So we can do things like draft emails, we can improve our communication, make shopping lists, create the perfect image, etc. You've probably seen people working with the images where you can specify what you wanted as an image, and it creates that image for you. You can do all of this in your free Copilot with Bing. Righty-ho. Now this slide was supposed to come up with separate topics, but it's all come up at once, but that's okay, we can work with that. Now Copilot for Bing in the desktop is available through your Edge browser. So for those of you that are using Microsoft Edge, if you do a search inside of Microsoft Edge, it uses Bing, and you'll have access to the Copilot there. The way that you find it is that there is a little Copilot button when you do your searching, and that will bring up this window that you're seeing on the screen at the moment. There is another way in, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now, if you are using Copilot with Bing, I highly recommend you sign in with your work account, with your business account. If you do so, you'll get some of the commercial data protections. If you're just going in there not signed in, you don't have those protections. If you're signing in with a personal account, it's different protections than what you will get with your business account. So there is a benefit to coming in with that business account. The things that we can do inside of this Copilot is we can ask the Copilot to do things like summarize web page. So if you have a web page of data that you just want to have a summary of, open up that page, ask for a summary and ask for it to be provided in bullet points and you get that summary there. We can do the same with a PDF. Open up the PDF in your browser and then ask it to summarize it and it will give you that summary. We can get it to compare products. So if you've got two products that are out there on the market and you want it to give you a comparison of those two, ask it the question, it'll provide you with that comparison. You can ask it to write a document in a particular tone or voice. You can also get it to assist you with things like, I need some help with an Excel formula. This is what I'm trying to do. And it will then give you samples of what you can be using for your Excel formula. And you can also do the image generation. So you can ask for things like, I would like an image of a dog singing. And we'll see that in a couple of slides on. This Copilot does not connect to your tenant data. The subscription does. So when you see what we can do in the subscription, it allows you to connect with your own internal data and it just lifts what you can do with the Copilot. This one is just the web-based data. Also know that it's a learning model and this is only as accurate as when that learning model learnt its information. So usually they're running about 2 or 3 months behind our current dates. So don't go asking it what the current times are for the movies because it's not going to give you accurate results on those sorts of things. Now to open up Copilot in the desktop, Copilot with Bing in the desktop, once you have Edge open, in the top right-hand corner, there is a little Copilot button. And when you open that, it opens up a side pane. Now that sidebar that it opens up has two different options. We have a chat option and a compose option. So the one on the left is our chat. The way we switch is by using these little options in the top left-hand corner. On the chat, we've got the ability to ask a question. We can ask it to be creative, balanced, or precise, and ask it what you need. The next option on the right is the compose, and compose is allowing us to ask it to write something for us. So we tell it what it is that we want to write, what tone of voice we want it written in, what type of format is it going to be in? Are you writing a paragraph? Is it an email, a LinkedIn post, a summary, a report? How long do you want it to be? And then you would click on the button and it will generate it for you. Now, I didn't point out on the earlier screens, my apologies. When you are signed in with a business account, it shows you this little green marking. So here it's telling me it's protected, and a little bit further down, it tells me your personal and company data are protected. So that's how you know if you are signed in with your account. Copilot for mobile, so you can set it up on your phone as well. This is me going in with an Edge browser. Likewise for your desktop, if you are going in with Chrome, you will need to open up Chrome and then go searching for the Bing search engine. Once you've got that up and running, you can bookmark it and it will then become a place that you can get to Bing with easily. On the Edge browser for the mobile, there is a little button here that opens up Copilot, and you'll see that the window that opens looks identical to what we saw for the desktop. Here are some examples of what we can do with the mobile. So on the left-hand side, we talked about asking it to generate an image of a dog singing. There's some pictures there. Once it generates things like that, you can keep asking further questions. So you might like the images, but you need a red background. So you can say, yep, you're on the right mark, but can you give it a red background? Or I need the dog to be doing X, Y, Z. Middle option here is that we've taken a picture of something and we're asking what type of flower is this, and it's come back and answered with the type of flower that it thinks it is. And the third option is asking it to write an email to congratulate a colleague who has had a promotion, and it's generated that text for us. The next option is Microsoft 365, which is the paid subscription model. Now, this is Copilot on steroids, if you like. It connects with your Microsoft services, and it goes across all of your applications. So let's talk about what's involved here. So the first is that this Copilot is more than just putting AIs and ChatGPT into Microsoft 365. What it's doing is it's grounding those engines with your business data. So the Copilot has real-time access to both your content as well as the context of what's inside what we call the Microsoft Graph. And the Microsoft Graph is all the bits that connects all your different applications like email and Word and things like that all together. It generates answers that are anchored in your business content. So it's your documents, your emails, calendars, chats, and things like that, and then combines them with your working content. So the meeting that you're in now, the email exchanges that you've had on the topic, the chat conversations you've had last week, in order to be able to deliver accurate, relevant, and contextual responses. So it's bringing it into your workspace. Know, though, that it is keeping your data in your tenant. Nothing is being shared out to these learning modules. Whatever securities you already have in place, stay in place so that data is not moving from your tenant. So you see the comment there that it's been built on Microsoft's comprehensive approach to security, compliance, and privacy, and it inherits all of those existing settings that you have in place, as well as permissions that you have on SharePoint sites and library permissions and things like that. So it means that staff will only see what they have permission to see. So one, your data is not going out there into the wide world, plus staff that are using it internally only have access to what they currently have access to. It's not magically granting them any new access powers. It's architected to protect your tenant group and individual data. So the Copilot, the large language model that's in behind there, it's called LLM, is not trained on your tenant data or on any of the prompts that you send. So again, that's kept within your tenant. It's not going out helping the learning module. Individuals can only see what they have access to. We've talked about that one already. It integrates across all of your Microsoft apps, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, Teams, etc. And Microsoft have committed to building their co-pilots responsibly. So they're constantly refining the training data, filtering it to limit harmful content, the querying, result blocking taking place, and sensitive topics and things like that. So there's a lot in their space that they're doing to protect things for us. All right, what can Copilot do? There is a lot that Copilot can do. Now, I'm going to show you some live examples, but on this page here are some ideas of what can be done. So you can get it to write documents for you. You can get it to summarize documents. You can ask it to analyze trends in Excel. We can get it to summarize long email threads, draft emails for us, find relevant email and summarize content. So instead of you having to look through hundreds of emails, it will narrow it down for you. Teams, get it to summarize key discussion points and action topics from your meetings and conversations. PowerPoint, getting slide decks created. Now, the biggie that has one line entry there is the cross-application intelligence. What that means is it can look across all those applications and bring information together for us, which we couldn't do in that free service. Now, it is a paid subscription. It's sitting at just under $50 per month, and it is an annual commitment. So you do have to commit for the full year, and you do have access to a 7-day free trial. So that's something that you do through your IT providers. What we're going to look at now is a few different samples where I've grabbed screenshots. There's a lot here. I'm just going to pull some key ones out so that we can get to the information on how to get yourself ready for Copilot. This one here is a screenshot of the cross-application intelligence. So the question that's been asked is, what's the latest store opening what's the latest on the store opening in Phoenix. It's looking across all of our conversations in Teams, the emails that have taken place around that topic, and it's collated a list of bullet points on what's happening about that opening, and it's put 4 bullet points in place. You'll notice some of those bullet points have got little numbers off to the right there. Those are allowing us to see where it's getting that information from. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it's got a button that says for references. So if we want to look into what those references are, I click on that button and it will expand to show me whether it's got it from Teams or from Outlook and what the actual message is. So I can see how it's got to that data. Plus I can copy that and use it as a summary if I need it somewhere else. Excel. We've talked about some of the things you can do in Excel. Let me just jump into some screenshots of what Excel can do. So taking your data here, it's looking at what's inside the table and it's presented a pivot chart showing me some trends that it's seeing inside the data. Now, we sneak here, this is what you can also get inside your Excel. Currently, this though can go beyond and look into other areas. For example, I can ask it to write a formula for me. So rather than me having to write a formula inside of the spreadsheet, I'm asking what are the total sales for the whole roast beans, and it tells me that answer, and I don't need to put it into my spreadsheet. I've got the answer ready to go there. Conditional highlighting. Not everyone knows what conditional highlighting is, but you might know that I just want to highlight these things that relate to a particular item. So in this case, it's asking to highlight the items that are the most shipped items, and it's telling me that it's applied a particular fill color of this color number to the top 5 items in column B. Do I like it? Yes, then I keep it. If I don't, I get it to change it. I wanted some help with an Excel formula. I told it that I wanted a column to calculate the total price. It's given me a suggestion telling me what that formula is going to do. It's used my own column heading. So instead of me trying to work out what columns I have to put where, it's put that into the formula. And if I like it, I click on Insert Columns and it puts it in. If you need that formula explained, it explains the formula to you as well. Now, this does not come free. This is part of that subscription, so it's digging you deeper. Copilot for Word, you've seen those documents created, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time in there, but suffice to know that it will summarize your documents if you've got a big document there, or it will create documents for you. We'll skip the video for that one and move into PowerPoint. PowerPoint allows you to create brand new presentations. We can get a summary of a longer presentation, plus we can get advice on how to structure the slide deck. If you know you've got the slides but you're not quite sure how it works together, ask PowerPoint to do that for you. And I've got a few samples of slides. Outlook's a goodie. We spend a lot of time trying to find emails, understand what's taking place in emails. It can draft emails for us. It can summarize those long email conversations. Plus, it can find the emails that you're trying to track. And this is one of those stats we saw at the beginning. 64% said that Copilot reduces time spent processing email. And here's a wee sample. The question was, summarize my most recent email thread with Andy Malone. It's gone through and it's found the last contacts. And again, it's giving me the references of where those came from. There are the 3 emails that it's referenced to get that information. Teams, you've seen Teams in action when we did the Teams Premium. Similar features here. So again, I won't expand too much on that, but if you want to see that one in action, then have a look at our Teams Premium video. OneDrive, it can do things like open it without you needing to open a document. It can summarize the contents of a document. If you receive CVs, it can tell you what the skills of the applicants are in those CVs without you having to open it, for example. So there's a lot of things like that that it can do. Moving on to, now we're skipping those ones. What do we need to do to prepare for Copilot? Now that's the big thing. Yes, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and there's all these exciting things we can do inside a Copilot, particularly Copilot for Microsoft 365, which was that last one that I showed you. But what do we need to do to get ready? Now, it is different to just installing an app like we've done in the past. Microsoft research has shown that productivity gains only come when companies take an intentional and programmatic approach to the rollout. So you need to be thinking about how you're going to do this. Becoming an AI-powered organization doesn't happen with the flick of a switch. AI is unlike any technology we've seen before, which means it requires a unique strategy to deploy and drive adoption. Organizations that take a thoughtful and deliberate approach are going to be the ones that reap the benefits. Now, we've put those in there because you do need to think about what you're going to do in this AI space. AI is here with us, as I've spoken about already. It's in apps that you're using already. So you do need to take an intentional approach to how you're going to work with AI. Your staff are able to access those free tools that I've shown you, even if you don't give them the subscription version. So you're going to want to make sure that they're doing things like logging in with their business accounts to keep you protected and so on. So thinking through your approach is going to be very important. You also need to make sure that you get your house in order, or specifically your data house in order. It's something you should be doing anyway. It's not that you need to do it for Copilot. Copilot just highlights why we need to be doing this. We need to ensure that we've got people seeing the right data and getting to the right bits, that we're applying the right permissions to our libraries. That good governance and hygiene should already be a priority in your organization to make sure that people are only seeing what they're meant to be seeing. But it's critical if you are turning on Copilot. Copilot will know, even if an individual in your organization doesn't, that that person has access to a library, even if you didn't intend for them to have access to that library. So in terms of what I mean by that is, you may have unintentionally shared a library with somebody. Your staff member's not aware that you've shared it. They haven't bothered going into it. You've forgotten that you unintentionally shared that library with them. Copilot just goes, oh, this is a library that the user is allowed to be seeing, and it will then surface information from that library. So that good governance needs to be put in place. And it should be there regardless of whether you're turning Copilot on or not. Another risk factor is things like our sharing. When we share files with others, what you may have set as your library permissions have now been extended beyond that. So you may have shared a file with person B, forgotten that you shared it with them, but Copilot, when it starts doing the search of what is this person allowed to see, will remember that that file has been shared and it will surface that information. So again, that hygiene, making sure you remove sharing permissions when they're no longer needed. And sorry, my last question at the bottom there was, when did you last do a data audit? You should be doing that on a regular basis, regardless of Copilot being here or not. Now, in terms of next steps for moving forward with Copilot, we suggest you meet with us to discuss what your Copilot goals are going to be. We can help you with giving guide on what the best Copilot options are. We can ensure that you're Copilot ready. There's a range of different packages that we can help you with. We can ensure that your files are properly set up, that you've got the right permissions and sensitivity labels set up to protect that data, which, as we said, you should be doing as good practice anyway. But if you're looking to put Copilot on, you really want to make sure that's done. Help you set up the back-end systems. Things like the PowerPoint slide generation, we need to do some back-end stuff of putting your templates in place so that it knows what templates to use when it creates your presentations. Ensuring that you follow best practice and help you develop a rollout plan. There's no point just turning it on. We want to teach staff how to use it properly, how to get the benefits out of this new tool. And in that space, we can help you with that training, with educating staff on how to use the various Copilots. You saw there's lots of different ones. You may only need the free version. You may not need to go to the paid version. So working out where is it that you need to be sitting. Teaching staff how to write effective prompts. There is an art to using the Copilot and writing prompts, and a lot of people are working that out, and there's a lot of information taking place on writing prompts. It's different to doing a Google search where we keep everything small. There are different factors that we need to provide to our Copilots to get them to work properly. Plus also setting people's expectations on what a Copilot rollout is. It's there to help them in their roles. It's not a threat, and what are the benefits that it can bring them. I made it. I got to the end. Yes, I'm slightly over, but are there any questions that people would like to ask? Now, there's a couple of questions that I've put in there that people may want to know answers to, but any questions you want to ask me specifically?
We've had a couple come through in the Q&A, but I believe, hopefully, I've answered those in there. But just to recap on those ones, so a little bit similar to what you've got on there, but just confirming the pricing of the licenses. So although we said it's just slightly less than $50 per month, at the moment it seems to be purchased on an annual license. So it's actually 500 and something. I can't remember the number, but per year. But that's current. I'd imagine at some point fairly soon they're going to release a monthly, but that is per user, and you don't have to license every individual in the organization. You could just have a select few, so like content creators or people that's going to leverage that technology. And I would suggest maybe rolling out a pilot group for that. And as Anna-Marika said, there is a 7-day trial, but I would be very cautious on rolling out a 7-day trial without doing some hygiene and cleanup. Belinda's just asked, how does it continually learn in a closed environment? So, do you want to handle this one? Or
I'm happy to, but if you're keen to, you go for it.
I was just going to say, so SharePoint, Microsoft Services are always crawling the data that's inside your tenant. So if you upload a new document, it is already, for the benefit of search, it is already crawling your data to extract out the information if you were to search for content within your tenant. So it will be leveraging that same technology. So it will be learning from any content that's already in your environment that you have access to.
As well as connections in the Microsoft Graph as well, which is more than just your content, but how you interact with each other as well.
Yeah, for anyone who's ever looked at Delve, Delve is kind of leveraging documents that you have collaborated with other people and things like that. So it'd be using kind of similar technologies. One thing I just wanted to mention just about some of that risk side of things. So Anna-Marika mentioned about when you've shared a link to someone, they now have access to that content, and you may have forgotten that you shared the link. For me, I think the biggest risk around Copilot is actually not so much. I mean, obviously, the sharing to someone is a big one. So if I share a file to Anna-Marika, then I did that, and I may have forgotten that I've done that. But I see quite often that people create anonymous sharing links and sharing links for the entire organization. And the reason people do that is because it's easier, because I can create one sharing link and I can share it to anybody who then needs access to that file. I don't have to keep inviting new people into that file every time they need access. So a common scenario would be like a board of directors. So I've written a report with all of my company financials and I share it to the external board. And I think, oh, if I just do an anonymous link and I share it in an email, only the people with the email with the link would be able to click it and access that content. The biggest risk with Copilot is anonymous sharing links then opens the door for anyone in the world to access that link, and therefore Copilot sees that it can leverage that information to then share to team who have Copilot. So there is a massive risk just in there, and it's a fairly easy one to close the door on. So we can provide you tools to report on how many sharing links have been generated throughout your organization. We had one client that had over 35,000 anonymous sharing links across their files. And within a quick review, we can get those closed down or expired. So it is really important. So please don't go ahead creating a trial and then giving it out to your team and letting them.
And again, not just for Copilot, but you should be doing this anyway. You need to protect your data. Those sorts of links put you at risk.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I know we're a little bit over time, but it's a big topic, and we're happy to carry on taking questions if people want to stay on. All right. So the other question we got through from Dawn was just around back in when you were talking about the Bing side of Copilot. And in any, just while we're talking about Copilot, but also this answers the question about ChatGPT as well. You may already be using ChatGPT to create content, but you do have to be careful about sensitive information that you're putting into that public space. Because, of course, it is machine learning. So if you provide it content, then the machine is going to learn from the content that you have provided. And therefore, if someone else tries to leverage that information, then they potentially could be exposed to some of your sensitive information, which I think Samsung got caught because they developed some application and they used ChatGPT to build some of the code. And then the model learned from the code that Samsung generated. And then other people were able to access Samsung's back-end code just because it learned from that model. So you do have to be a little bit conscious of that. But as Anna-Marika said, if you sign in with your Microsoft account, it puts some protections around that.
And doing it inside of the Copilot for Microsoft 365 puts even further protections in place. So if you're wanting to keep everything really secure and in your tenant only, then that subscription option is the way to go.
Yep. All right, so if we just pop to the next slide, we'll talk about the next webinar we've got coming up, which coincidentally, it's a good segue because we're talking about governance and compliance of SharePoint and Teams. So from here, we'll give you a bit of an overview of the tool set that we use for our clients and show you some of the kind of top 5 things that we'll run through. So one of those is sharing links. So links that have been generated across your organization, but also lifecycle management. So out-of-date content doesn't live forever, and we start looking at churning some of that information out of your tenant. So that's our topic next time, which is the 1st of May. Now, I am heading to Japan for pretty much the whole of April. So I think I'm landing and then running that presentation. So if you have any questions in the meantime, fire them through and I will have access to the internet while I'm there. But yeah, feel free to register for that one. Should be a good topic.
Thank you all for attending today's session, and thank you for staying on as well, given that we have gone a little bit over time. We will stop the recorded part of things now. That if anybody does want to stay and ask some questions, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I wish you all a lovely afternoon, and we'll see you at the next webinar.